Hey, how are you? I'm so glad to be back. This first time of the year, actually, for this Global Hack Week, Beginners Week. So, what a better start for this 2025 than learning some new skills. So, first of all, congratulations to be here. And well, as every time, I would like to verify that you can hear me and you can see me. You can't see me, that's not so much a problem, but it will be a nice thing to have my voice through this, right? So if you can help me posting here on the comments that you can hear me and everything's good with the audio and with the video, that will be amazing. Thank you. We have Debbie in Dark One with these two little fires, which is right because we're on fire. We are going to start our path, as I mentioned, to learning these front-end skills. And if you're into web development or you like to start learning this area of the programming, so this is the right place for you. And tomorrow we will have another session for backend for exposing APIs. So that will be another great session for you. We also have Diego Obed. Uh, Diego Obed Lopez Casimiro. Um, you sound very Latin. Says hi everyone, and I mentioned about that because I always forgot to introduce myself. I'm Alberto, your Major League Hacking coach from Mexico. So Diego Abel Lopez Casimiro sound very Latin to me. Where are you from, Diego? That will be a great thing to know. Let me start sharing my screen. I have some slides for you, so give me a second and I'll start this presentation. This time I don't have the second monitor, so I will be switching here. Um, Give me this second. To Mexican, I'm from Mexico too. Great. It's nice to have another Mexican fellow around here. There's another coach from Mexico actually. It's Jocelyn, so you can watch her streams too. So that will be supportive. Okay, here's my screen. Okay, let's start with this front-end introduction. Just let me okay. Let me check one thing before I I do this. Okay, yeah. Hmm. Okay, now we're ready to go. Sorry, just one thing I needed to check. Slav Yasling, amazing. Good that you love her streams. So I hope you like mine too. The English barrier, it's difficult for me, but it's necessary. Yeah, I can do agree. Sometimes I feel like an imposter, and I feel like I lack of the language to communicate a lot of things I want to say. But hey, practice makes perfect. So don't give up, buddy. That will be my better advice. Yeah. Okay. Intro to frontend. First, let's check what we are going to cover during this session. This is the welcome slide, the agenda, what is front-end development, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The three big columns where all the web developing relies on. So if you haven't heard of this, don't worry. I will explain what this is. If you do, okay, just be aware that this is a very introductive session. So if you do know about web developing and stuff, and you kind of feel like this is too slow or too for beginners, don't worry. In the future, we will have more advanced sessions. Every month, we have this Global Hack Week. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Yeah, but don't worry again. There are different sessions for all levels: entry level, mid level, and for very, very complicated stuff. So don't worry. Building a simple project will be the next step once we cover these HTML, CSS, and JavaScript basics. Then I will share with you some tools and resources. We will have a Q&A, and that's all. That's all we are going to cover. Um, Again, this is an introduction to front-end development to learn the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Here in these slides, I want to take a moment to be aware of what frontend is. When I started learning code, I realized that programming is a very, very big world, right? So there are there are very different areas. I can tell, for example, web developer, mobile, desktop, even. You can do things like data science. You can do things like video games. You can do things like, for example, CLI applications that ones that live in terminal, or just algorithms and in general, or do, for example, I will put data science and these mathematical stuff in the same pocket, but inside there are more subdivisions. But actually, I'm going to give another session for MATLAB, and MATLAB is a great tool for performing analytics. And no, I'm not talking about web analytics. I'm talking about analysis of data. um, that MATLAB is a language that runs operation metrics in a very, very efficient way. So, well, the thing I want to say here is that programming and code, it's a very immense world. And once you understand what your path or your career you want to follow is, things starts to get even more complicated, because in these huge areas there are another other huge areas that requires more specific knowledge. For example, in web, there are these main two areas that is front end and back end, right? The interfaces and the logic, or the, yeah, the logic running in the server. But also there is, for example, DevOps, which is the infrastructure for all the things that runs in the computer. If it is client side, server side, if it runs over the cloud, or a dedicated server, things like that. So again, start getting more and more complicated. Let me check if there is any comment, and I will take advantage of this to make a pause. Okay, no more, no comments here. So um, I'll do a really quick pause. No more than 2 minutes. You saw it was less. So, resuming. front end, it's just a little bit, small part of the coding world, but it is one of the main parts, actually almost half. Uh, eh, yeah, I'll say almost half of the web development world. And what does fronter is for? Well, again, interfaces. If you want to build your own web page, create your own portfolio, great interface to use. I don't know. For example, I use frontend a lot in my career because I create beautiful interfaces for robotics, robotics tasks. So I communicate instructions via web through a server, and the robot takes action based on that. Why I use frontend? Because I don't like interfaces that you can do in native desktop development using C or Java. They're ugly, and well, HTML, CSS. I just mastered those tools to create really, really beautiful interfaces. You can do it with many other tools, but again, uh, that's my tool set. If you have others, again, it's cool, it's okay. But I'm talking for robotics. I use Electron, which is a library that helps you create native, not native, but desktop applications, like if you were doing a web application. But for web, they are mandatory. For any other purposes, they're optional. Actually, if you are a fan of the aerospace industry, the interface for Falcon X, the the rocket, the first rocket that achieved landing and on Earth, um the interface was built with HTML and CSS. That's amazing, right? So that's the power and the capabilities of these two, and the front end in general. So we check this is right. Oh, I make the wrong pass on the wrong slide. The definition, if you try looking for it, it's the visual and interactive part of the website that the user interacts with. For example, if you open Google, yeah, the Google engine, it's powerful and stuff, but the input you type your query, that's front end, and it's the required part to get the information from the user. The user interacts with this piece of software, so it is very important. Again, it depends a lot of what you prefer in your career. You will take one or other paths. If you choose web, congrats, that's a great path. And again, there are three main: front-end, back-end, DevOps, right? Take that in mind so you can start building your own mental model of like the coding universe. And I do this metaphor a lot. Imagine you are in a universe, and each planet is a coding area. And some planets sometimes even collide because you can do, again, amazing things like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for doing robotics. As I mentioned, I actually do that for doing a lot of things. Actually, there's a joke. JavaScript, for example. I always, you will realize if you start attending my sessions that I'm a JavaScript developer in general, and I'm a very, very huge JavaScript fan. And I use JavaScript for everything because you can do many, many things with JavaScript. I Jokes apart, I don't say that JavaScript is the best coding language because, being serious, every task has a tool for it, but a very multifunctional tool is JavaScript. Don't worry, I will talk more about what JavaScript is in just a couple of slides. Um, let's start with HTML basics. What HTML means is hypertext markup language. So if you get asked, hey, do you know any programming language? And you say HTML, you look wrong, buddy. I have to tell the truth. HTML, it is not a programming language. And many people will realize that you're in a very entry level way, you know, and getting to know the difference between these hypertext, for example, markup language, or CSS, which is code style sheet cascade or something like that, cascade style sheet, or I'll tell the definition in a second. Um, that are not programming languages. It's crucial. Before HTML, you will tell if you look in history books, there is something called the XML. You know, there are markup languages, uh, and this markup language help us to structure the like the blocks of the page. You know, the input. We will have these great things called divs that are like boxes where we can store a lot of things. Uh, the HTML tag, indeed, the head, the body, headings from 1 to 6, the paragraphs, links, images, order list elements, tables. Even we have headers, footers, sections. There are a lot of tags. Actually, I encourage you to look for more HTML tags. I'm kind of spoiling, but you can head to Mozilla org. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Sorry. Mozilla Developer MDN Web Docs. This one. Let me paste to you the path for this. Okay, here you have it. And here in the learning section, you will have the three basics: the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's take a look to the HTML one. Here, sorry, let me change it to English. Yeah, so we can know this now. They have tutorials, challenges, and stuff, but here we can find like the documentation. There's no official documentation for what I know, but here we can find a lot of syntax, tags, and helping information about this, blogs, tutorials, and stuff. So the anatomy of an HTML, it's opening and close. There's content inside the tags. So we have to structure this as opening and closing tags. And tags can contain more tags, like the HTML tag indeed contains all the HTML content. I will review that on code in my code editor, but don't worry, you will have that later when we check the project. So, well, no, I think that will be a better thing to just open the code editor right now. Okay, but here there's information about this, the images, attributes, anatomy, and an HTML document. Here, this is the anatomy of a very basic HTML document. This is how the last information can be set to your web page. Have you ever wondered how you can name this? Like what basic HTML syntax, learn web developer, blah, blah, blah. Why is this here? Why this is in the tab? Well, this is the title. Let's open the code editor. I use a terminal called Hyper. So um, let me check. Okay. Okay, now I open this. And here I'm going to create my first element, my first file called index.html, right? So I can write all the HTML tag, or like, since this is a very common template, you can you probably have an help from your text editor to help you create all of this. You know, it's the same. Doc type, HTML, lang, English, HTML has inside the head and the body. So also it helps to imagine this as a tree. And the base of the tree is the HTML. Inside the HTML, we have the head and the body. Those two, and these are very important ones. Inside the head, we can find oh, we can find the title and some meta tags. And I mentioned something. The HTML structures have an opening and a closing tag, you know? And then you may be wondering, hey Alberto, why did you lie to me? This meta doesn't have a closing tag. Okay, this is kind of tricky, but some tags doesn't have a closing tag, a closing part. You know, some elements doesn't have this. Do you have to learn which ones? Yes. Is that hard? No, don't worry. There are not much. Actually, there are no much tags in HTML. Another great tool to have this, it's Web3 Web3 School. Yeah. W3 School, sorry, not Web. Web3 is another thing. In W3 School, we have the HTML, and here we have a lot of tags. The media, the forms, the graphics, they are separated. Another great tool, it's devdocs.io. And here we have the HTML, the elements, the attributes, the miscellaneous, and obsolete. There are some obsoletes. But you will see in elements there are not much, 140. Do you have to learn them all? Well, not all, but I recommend to learn some of the most used ones. A, it's very used. It's abbreviation for anchor, article, aside. B, it's also used. It is used for making bold. Block quote, body, BR, break lines, button, canvas. You can add a code, for example. And here you will see an example of how do they look in here. Some of them, and a lot of them also are for styling text. This can be done by very different ways. What else? Figure, footer, form, the H1 to 6. Actually, this is like the representation of how this looks. HTML, the father of all. So yeah, let me share with you this, and I will take advantage of that too. Okay, no comments. Don't feel shy. Try to post your comments here if you have any. And for this, nice. So I will take some water while you think about your questions and open yourself those tabs. Amazing. Yeah, let's return here. So I will add an H1 to this HTML, and I will just type hello global hack week beginners, and the title will have Frontend intro session. Let's save this, and if you have if you have the VS Code text editor, there's an extension I recommend you, which is let me find it. Live server. Live server helps you run immediately changes on your code without having to reload. Like, okay, I was going to say something that makes me feel old, like the old Node daemon, but Node daemon was required so much, a little bit more knowledge of the things you were doing. Here, just it's an extension, right? Let's do that. Let's open this with live server. To see if it was open. No, I think it doesn't. So open with live server. Maybe I need to restart to update. Ah. Okay, it's refreshing. Nice. Now let's open with live server. Oh, it's activating extensions, so maybe we have to wait. Seems that okay, maybe this is failing. What happened? Yeah, this isn't working. Weird, but it doesn't matter. Let's open this in Finder, and if we open this will open directly on the browser, right? So this is what we made. Hello Global Hack Week with the title Frontend Intro Session, right? Amazing. Oh, wow, what happens here? No, this is from work. It shouldn't be here. Here, this. And okay, these ones are fine. Hello, Global Hack Week. Let's modify this and let's add a header. And let's put this here. And inside this header, we are going to write, for example, the MLH, an image containing MLH logo. If I don't put here a source, this won't display. So let's add a source. Let's copy this link. No, but I don't want this link. I want this. Oh no. I want to inspect. Ooh, this I need to show. Yeah, I kind of was forgetting about this. Sorry. Huh. Oh, this is an SVG. Oh, don't worry. I will look for an MLH logo. And here are the images in the branding guidelines. I will open these here, PNG. And now I can close. I can put this on source. And let's close and let's reload. I have my MLH logo now, you know? Funny. But hey, this doesn't look like the MLH page, right? Let's remind us how the MLH page looks like. We have the header, we have the section containing all the news and stuff, and also we have another buttons here. How can I make this logo to be a little bit smaller? Well, a lot of small. Yeah, very much smaller. How can I do that? Well, thankfully, okay, is this going to be vanilla JS or are there be any framework library you use? This is a great question, and this is going to be full vanilla, but we are going to talk about these frameworks and what they are and how we can use them. But yeah, for the project for this demo, it's going to be full vanilla. Thanks for the question. So let's resume here. We talk about this structure, what HTML is. Remember, HTML, it's not a programming language, it's a markup language that helps us extract content in the browser and in many other, yeah, in many other sites. But how we can make that content beautiful? Well, with CSS. CSS is cascading style sheet. It is the language, not programming language, but it is the language to style HTML, right? How to use it? We can do it inline which means selecting for each element HTML tag, HTML attribute, HTML tag, adding the style attribute and start modifying it. Again, here in the Mozilla Web Docs, we can find style tutorials, documentation about this, the getting started, and a lot of information to start learning about this. Here, same in week W3 school, tutorials, examples, a lot of examples on how to apply these, what are the things we can style and stuff. What I find very practical is this one actually. I have to admit, I love devdocs.io. Um, the extensions, filter, query, miscellaneous, selectors, transforms. But this one, I'll say it's better if you start looking because, well, typing here because looking it can be very tricky. For example, I don't know, background. And you will see there are two, the attribute as an HTML tag and the CSS property. So we'll see that the background here actually it's an image, which is weird, right? But we can do that. Let's see if we can copy by inspecting. And here I want to talk you about the tools and the tools as web developers. You know, you can inspect if you right click on any page on the on your web browser and inspect the code actually, and you will see the structure in the HTML of how this is done. You can see the console, you can see things like the network, like the memory, the storage, uh, app that you have installed, the debugger, performance meter of how your page works. So the tools, the inspector, are really great in all web browsers. Mainly, I prefer this. I have to admit it. Of the one for Firefox, again, big Mozilla fan. But the one in Chrome, it's very cool. Also, the one in Safari, it's kind of tricky because you have to active the depth settings in the computer settings, so it's not as easy as just inspecting, but you can do it. No, don't worry. And if you're in Windows, by default, Edge. Yeah, I think Edge is the browser by default, right? I think you don't have to do any other tricky or extra steps like in Safari. You can just double click and inspect. Um, Opera and all other browsers, mainly the same. You can inspect it and you will have your dev tools, right? So here in Inspector, I will click here and select the background to see if I can get the, yeah, um, I will cross console. Let's see if I can get the linear to bottom, the URL for the image. Yeah, I think I don't see any URL. If not, I can just do with any other image and try to copy the style. But let's not get complicated at this point. Let's start with style, background, color, red, for example. And these I want to apply not to the image but to the header. So that's what I was talking about. One way to do this is doing it inline. Um, put it inside the tag we want to modify, and or change. Oh, I wanted to open it again. Or change looks like this. So the header now has a red background. How else we can do this CSS styling? Internal, inside the HTML tag. Yeah, inside the HTML tag. Style. And here I will add for the H1, I will say color green. So let's return to this and reload. You see now the text it's green. And these are two different ways. I will do the same here that I'm doing here, but inline. Style, color, brown. Let's refresh it. And now I have this brown. And you may be wondering, hey Alberto, I noticed something weird. That you have an H1 saying that the style should be color green, but then inline you have H1 with style color brown. How does CSS or HTML or the browser knows how or which style apply? Well, we can open our inspector, we can select the H1 tag, and we will see that color green appears here, but the one being displayed it's brown. If I unselect this option, you will see that the green color will start applying and if I unselect this color green too, then the default will be black. But at some point, who tells the H1 to be black? Because of course it can be white and don't see at all. Well, there's a section here. If you start scrolling down and down and down, where you will see this root, right? And inside a root, there are a lot of pre-default styles for things like this. Actually, another thing that you didn't ask, but it is implied here, is that this H1 has a font that I didn't select, but by default, all elements in the HTML had CSS and a default CSS configuration. Another example, the body by default has these, and I have to say it, very annoying padding and height. If I want to delete that, I just simply have to say padding 0, margin 0. And now the header takes all the space to the borders. If I delete this margin, so I have this little margin on the edge of the screen. Well, same with again, all HTML elements has default CSS. Let's see if you have any question. Okay, no questions this far. Then you didn't. I didn't mention how this knows how to put green or brown. I just mentioned that it has both. Well, I do mention, I do say it, that the cascading style sheet is what CSS means. Even if I put in my code color green and then color white, who do you think the H1 is going to take the color from? Green or white? Cascade indicates to us that it's going to take the latest value it has. Maybe white wasn't the proper choice here. So yeah, color green was applied, but then just the second after color green was applied, it was changed for color white. So in cascade, it means that it takes the last that appears. But that doesn't mean either that if I put this color brown here, this is going to take the color brown because it's the last being applied. Actually, well, no, this is going to be an error, but it has the brown, even since I applied last the white. But check this one. It tells us that the element has the style property of brown, and in general, all H1s has color green and color whites. Let me move this order, and let's add another H1 saying this is for us to start learning Frontend developer, right? And well, now you know that this style doesn't matter is after the setting of the style. I mentioned it is cascade styling. That means the last it takes for the tag we are trying to modify. But again, I mentioned this color brown appeared not for H1s but for the element. Before I refresh, try to do the mental model. Which color do you imagine the H1 we just added it's going to be displayed? Well, it's green, because if we inspect this and we open this, it doesn't even have the color brown. The color brown style was just applied for this specific H1, not for all H1s like here in the style tag. This one says that all H1s should have color white, then color green, meaning, thanks to the cascade styling, that it's going to take the last green. But there's a a concept here called specificity. Yeah, I think it's specificity or something like that in English. I can't remember the word for that. But what it's supposed to mean, it's that there are hierarchy rules for applying styles that goes from general to specific. So that's I think that's why it's called specificity or something like that. Sorry. Uh, so if we specify in general that H1s should have this, yes, like cascading it from the outside to the inside, it's going to take that styles. But once it hits the inner circles, in the inner specific element of these H1, not all H1s, this should have the color brown. So that's why this has the element color brown that overrides the general H1's rules for display these colors. Nice. So I know it looks kind of tricky, and this is why a lot of people prefer pure logic. Actually, this is pure logic. I don't know why a lot of people goes to backend saying like, "Oh no, I cannot do front end. I don't like centering a div or something." Um, it doesn't matter. This is pure code. This is pure programming. This is pure logic too. So you need to understand how CSS works, how these specific rules applies, and that's why some people get sometimes messed, like trying to apply certain styles and says like, I don't know why these text doesn't look like I want it to look, or I don't know why this box it's not aligned how I want it to be aligned. Well, because you're doing something wrong. You need to understand what is happening. And also a beautiful, beautiful thing about the front end, it's that you have these developer tools. A great ally. I will say your best ally. And if you're doing HTML and CSS, mainly this inspector, right? So let's go to the third, and I will say the most difficult part of frontend. Yeah, the HTML and CSS, it's pure fun. JavaScript, the actually programming language that gives life to the browser. Uh, I have dedicated full sessions of just explaining what JavaScript is. Actually, I even think in the last beginners week, wow, 1 year ago, I give a track. I mean, like 4, 5 sessions about JavaScript and how to create your mental model on this beautiful language. But hey, time it's not our ally this time. We have to cover all of this in not much more than an hour, and I will try to do my best. JavaScript it's a programming language that makes the interactivity in the web browser. Else, we can emulate it. We can do things like clicking a button, showing I don't know, hiding or showing things. Yes. We can do tricks, but that's their name. There are tricks to try to emulate the interactivity doing HTML and CSS. Some of these tricks are really nice, I have to admit it. But what makes the interactivity in the browser. What makes it what it is? It's JavaScript. Is it the only programming language that runs on web browsers? No. Natively, no, it does not. Now, there's something else called WebAssembly. That it's a very low code for actually that's why it's called assembly uh, for 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 the web. Does all browsers support it? I think they don't. I'm not sure right now in this point of life that they use that, um, but all used to support JavaScript natively. Actually, the JavaScript language was born in the browser. It was all what it was all. I mean, it was a browser language, a full web language. The big hit started when the Node engine was released, and then you can run JavaScript in your computer, not only in the browser. And well, then now you can do everything you want with JavaScript. But let's go easy. I don't want to ruin your life telling you about all the things that you need to learn in JavaScript. I want you to get excited about this beautiful language. So let's start easy. Let's open. Oh my God! I was forgetting something. I was going to say let's open our JavaScript file, but I was forgetting this, the external part. So yeah, we can do inside the HTML with the HTML tag, but also we can say oh, I always forgot how to yeah, we can say no, this is not source. It is. Oh, let me remember. Let's call these styles.css, and I'm going to open here the body, and yeah, this. I will change the font family, the background color, and I will delete all the margins and stuff, right? So yeah, I like that. Let's return to this front end, refresh. Okay, it wasn't applied because probably I am not calling this correctly. Uh, uh, um, yeah, I always forgot. Uh, link rel style sheet href this style file. Yep. Now we can come back to Firefox and refresh. Yeah, styles are applied perfectly. And that's the same, actually. It's up to preferences. Some people like to do all in just one file. Uh, Maniacs. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's up to preferences. A lot of people likes to do HTML, CSS, and even JavaScript here, just in the HTML file, because you can do it. It's totally up to you. I like to separate logics. I mean, the structure, it's here, the styling, it's here, and now let's add the main.js file. And yeah, let's add something called alert. HTML and JavaScript are working together, baby. Now we can call script, and here, yeah, here it is, main.js. And now refresh, and I have this alert. HTML and JavaScript are working together, baby. Let's accept that. Let me see if you have any question. Sir, how to attend all live stream which were held from Global Hack Week, please tell. There is a page for that. Actually, you can you can watch old recordings that are on our YouTube channel, but if you head to globalhackweek.html.io, you can see here all the information that you may need. Check out previous session. You want to see more, check out our YouTube for past streams. So if you head here directly, you can see the previous sessions for all our previous recorded sessions. And if you want all the information for Global Hack Week, you can head here to ghw.mlh.io. And here you can see the challenges, the schedule. You can win swag, facts, or register server, and register to all these events, which I was forgetting, but I hope you already register and checked in for this session. Uh, let me share the link. Yeah, here it is. So let's return. I was explaining the JavaScript, right? So, baby steps. I just wanted to show you that these were connected. But let's start introducing some things. Variables that we are going to use. There are three main ways to declare variables in JavaScript: via var, via let, and via const. What are the differences here? Well, remember JavaScript is let me remember the words for this. Loose typed language. What does that mean? Is that, for example, a it's equal to 10. So how we print how we print things to console in JavaScript, it's console.log a. I know in other languages like Python, you use type print, which is more understandable. Actually, I don't like the console.log from JavaScript. Yeah, it's one of the things I kind of I'm concerned about it. But hey, once you get used to it, it's fine, right? So we have a, and we have this beautiful built-in function that it's called type of a, and you will see in our web browser console the type of is. So when I was saying that this is loose typed, what I mean, it's here on console. This is a number, right? So which ones are the JavaScript types? The first one, it's string. Well, let's start with number. The second one, string. thanks Copilot, we have Boolean, we have undefined, we have null, yeah, that's another thing, we have symbol, we have also big int, and we have object. Yeah, exactly. So thanks Copilot. But yeah, for these primitive types, these are mainly because they are adding, it depends on the ML script we're talking right now, but these mainly are the types of JavaScript. That's all. These are primitive types. Also, everything else in JavaScript, it is an object. It is different 10 than 20.45. No, it is not. It is different type 20.45 that minus 30. No, it is not. I know. So I know other languages like Java, I think, or C has this more detailed typing, strong typing, that is one, it's an integer, or it's a floating. One can be a double, one can be an integer or of 16 or 32 bits, and we have to manage all that information. And it's hard. Well, JavaScript tells you, don't you worry, baby. I have it all covered for you. You just need to tell me one, it's a number, one other, it's a string, and if you want to do crazy stuff like saying, hey, 20 in string and C, it's going to be multiplying A times B, hey, don't worry, I can do that. And that will be crazy stuff in another language. Very, very crazy. I mean, maybe even impossible to multiply one number times a string, right? Another thing, the string. Realize that this, indifferent to other languages, JavaScript doesn't have a character. It has just strings. Nice? Yeah, it is nice. And if we multiply 10 times 20 in the string, we have 200, and that's a number. But be aware of multiplying B times A type of this. What will be the result? Make your guesses. JavaScript is tricky. You won't you won't be right. Oh, B times A. Okay, let's D, and this is going to be B times A. $200 again, and it is a number. But what happens if we change this 20, that's a string? Because, yeah, for us as humans, we can say, okay, 20, it's 20, even if it is a number or a string. But what it is, hello. Hello world, why not? And this is a 5. What happens when you multiply hello world times 5? Can you guess? First, we have not a number, and this will be a number. So, does that make sense? Another thing, well, this has an explanation. Don't worry, JavaScript is not crazy. What happens is that JavaScript, it's so smart, and I'm not saying this to make fun of the language. Actually, this is true. It is so smart that makes something called type coercion. So it tries to make his best guess to do what you want, to make possible your instructions. Other languages says, hey, I cannot do this, buddy. I cannot multiply an integer times a floating number. This is completely insane. JavaScript even can multiply strings to numbers. And some people thinks this is a mistake. People that comes from strong type languages thinks this is a mistake. A mistake. Python has mostly the same. It's not the same, but it's kind of the same. Meaning that these languages try to do their best to do what you want as an instruction. Others don't, and this is a thing that can goes wrong or good. It depends that you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, and you're in a not controlled environment, this can introduce errors in your code. If you know what you're doing and you actually want to take advantage of this, that's why JavaScript is a very powerful language. But hey, again, try to learn more here in the Learn JavaScript. In this case, for example, for HTML and CSS, DevDogs is my weapon of choice. I mean, the one I used a lot. To be honest, I don't use that much W3 school, but I know it's good. I used to do a lot of research here when I was learning. Nowadays, well, I don't find this so useful. But the one I keep coming over and over again because it has a lot of great information, a lot of detail. Documentation about JavaScript, it's this one, the Mozilla Web Does for JavaScript. So they also tell you that you probably need a little bit of HTML and basics fundamentals of CSS. But yeah, come here for learning JavaScript. What's the difference? Oh, well, sorry, I skipped to the types, but I didn't talk about the variables, right? So what's the difference between bar, let, and const? Const, as the name mentioned, you can change the value of this. If I say c equals whatever, this is going to be an error because I'm reassigning the value of a constant value. So here, for example, our core code. Okay, well, the thing is, trust me, this is an error. Yeah, here, for example, this is undefined. Yeah, error. We cannot reassign this. If we delete it, this should be 50 again. Yeah, nice. Bar and let, the only difference is that bar makes something called hoisting. That is, oh, okay, this is again a deep knowledge about JavaScript, but JavaScript files are read in time, like line per line. That's why you have the difference for compiled languages like C, and interpreted languages. These interpreted languages go the engine goes line by line reading the content. So that's why it throws the error and stops at the point of the error and compile well, but it performs all the lines before that error. And compile languages, again, like C, first make the binary for that, and if it has an error, it does not anything for the file. So you need to have the file error free in order to compile it. Here, it will be compiling line by line. There is something called just-in-time compiler. And JavaScript performs a more difficult thing that it makes like a pre-compilation, but it's going to be interpreting line by line at the same time. And this hoisting, what it makes is that it like pre-reads the file. And for example, if I do something like this, which is, I'm going to say a value is A, and here C value, B value, it's B. You will see A value, it's undefined, but it does not show us an error. And the next, okay, yeah, and the next, it's undefined just completely because yeah, completely with an error. And what this means is that it cannot read B. At this point, we don't know what B is. B is not declared. A, we know that it is a variable thanks to the hoisting, but we don't have the value yet because line one doesn't tell us what the value of A is. Line 2 doesn't tell us what the value of A is. Until line 6, we know what the value of A is. But if we want to access it, it's undefined. It hasn't been declared, the value, but the variable exists in memory thanks to the hoisting. Let does not. At this point in line 4, we does not know the existence of a variable called b, either its value. You know, so that's the main difference between bar and let. And for the functions, something very similar happen. We have two main ways of declaring functions in JavaScript. The common one, which is calling the function, let's call this the sum, and we will returning the performance of this. Let's try to call this some fun before the declaration. And there's another called arrow function. This arrow for the way it's declared. So let's declare it const. Let's call not different from these two, and it will return us difference. And the console dot log, this is a different function. And let's do the same. Let's try to call this diff, right? So again, make your guesses. Let me see if we have Oh, hey, Pachuca Bachanga, what's up for Angry Joshix? Hey, the whole gang, it's here. Is this code available online? No, not yet, actually. But hey, we will do our best to put this on a repo so you can check it later, right? Great. Let's return here and run this again. And we have a value it's undefined, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and this is an error, so let's get this removed. And we have the calling of this is a sum function, right? Oh, sorry. Oh, this is a sum function. Let's grab this on a console.log and a console.log here too. And the result of summing 10 and 5, it's 15. And the other, it's undefined. And it happens because of the same. Functions, regular functions, have hoisting. Arrow functions, they does not have hoisting, since they are declared and stored on a constant value. And remember, let and const doesn't perform hoisting. So if we change the order of this and we call the diff function after it was declared, then we will see the result. This is a diff function, and the result is -5. And that's it. So we cover variables, types, and functions. That will be all. I'll talk you about other things that are important in JavaScript, like the type coercion, the how it is interpreted just in type compile language. But there are there are there are other things to know about JavaScript. There are a lot of things. Um, it's a really beautiful language, and I'm very passionate about it. There's the event loop, there is synchronicity, there is what else? It's important. Events. Um, well, a lot of things that are really important in JavaScript. But with these basics, we can start creating our JavaScript basics. Yeah, JavaScript. The simple project I want to create. In this project, we are going to build a personal web page, right? So the features, it's going to have a name, photo, and short view, and it will be styled same with HTML, and it will be interactive for displaying messages. So the first step is to create our HTML and our styles and our JavaScript. We already created that. So let's remove all the things we have here, and let's call these Alberto Personal page. Nice. The header, yeah, it will have an image, but I'm not sure which image I should tell. One image of mine, of course. So here I will say this is going to be my MLH profile picture. Then I will say here my name, Alberto Camarena Rodriguez. Typo in my name though. Um, and I wanted to look something like this. My GitHub profile, I wanted to look at something like this, like, hello, I'm Alberto Camarena, blah, blah, blah. So let's kind of copy this, and I'm going to break them down on different HTML structures. So this one is going to be running here. Hello there, I'm Alberto Camarena. Then I will say this is going to be a section. Oh, and another section. And this is going to be an H2. Then I will create an unordered list. Um, I'm missing here the list item, and list item. Yeah, so this is all the content section. Nice. Another, yeah, why not? A footer made with love by me. And yeah, I am not going to add the favorite technologies section. I'm going to add another that is going to be an H2. Write me a message. Form. The input placeholder and inside these let's add a div, and this div will have the class what class will we define? Messages. Nice. So let's see how this looks. MHPBB, hello there, blah blah blah. Okay, nice. Looks fine. But it requires styling, right? So also, yeah, header. Let me remove these styles from the header. Let me add a folder called static. That will be the first. A good name. Oh, it has a lot since I done this. Yeah, images. Keep it simple. Somewhere I have my picture, profile picture, but give me a second. I need to look it. Is there a JS resource that you could remember? Yeah, the Mozilla one. I have it here. Developer Mozilla. It's beautiful. It's simply beautiful. Does this page design have security vulnerabilities? Um, Well, yeah, that's a good point. In front, and you have to be aware that, and you saw it. I have the structure for the melee hacking page, for example, and there are a lot of things that are exposed to the client side. So be aware of not storing sensitive information like secret keys, like payment information, like personal data, things that you won't be showing or giving, for example, here in the stream, you know. Um, so, yeah, be aware that security vulnerabilities in frontend is a thing that you must be aware of when building your site. Thankfully, there are things called environmental secrets, but it's kind of a little bit more advanced. I will recommend you to start looking and learning first from the beginning, and don't worry that much about security. Just when you connect a service, please be aware to protect your credentials, and that will be all. I think the rest, that's not that concerning. Yeah, let me look my um my profile picture from the MLH. I think I have it on Drive. Yeah, yeah, here it is. Oh, but I have one with a circle. Okay, I think I can put this back now. And where were we? Here. Paste. Nice. So here, images, PVB. Nice. Oh, a lot, right? So let's start styling. Image. Well, first, good practices. There are, I'm talking about good practices. There are a lot of recommended ways for styling, uh, via tags, via classes, via IDs. The styling principles is something that you must learn. Right now, I won't focus that much on that, but be aware that they exist and they are really really good practice. For example, here I will just say header, and inside the header there is an image. And I want this to be 36 by 36 px, and the border radius to be 50% in order to be rounded. Nice. I think a little bigger won't affect. Maybe 48 and 48. Uh, yeah, that looks fine. Um, what I like to do, it's something called flex. There's also grid. Uh, Again, don't feel bad If some things here are too advanced, don't worry. This is for beginners. And I know you are not experts yet, so I I am taking some license here for the sake of the page to look fine. But you can always take your time to explore what I am doing after the session is done, and the resources I shared. I'm pretty sure you can find very good documentation about that. What I'm doing with this flex, it's I'm giving justified content. What I'm doing is giving the order to put the image at the end of the header. Justifying content. Actually, I'm going to do this here in the inspector, so you will see it better. Inspect here. This is flex, which means all the content here it's going to be aligned based on flex rules. Here, flex, I'm going to say justified content, and here the option is going to tell us center and start, inner, blah blah blah. I'm going to use end, right? Justified content and here also I'm going to add a padding and not auto but of 20 pixels, and this padding it's going to be left. So oh yeah, this I messed up, this was right. Oh, actually I'm margin it deformed, yeah. Now it has the margin. What else? Hello, I'm Alberto Camarena. Okay, let's go with the section. Actually, at this section, I'm going to add a class, and this is going to be class message section and info section. And look how the tags are just like that, directly, but classes, the selector for that, it's dot info section display flags. I'm going to take the hints here. Display flags, justify content center, align item center, all hate, all viewer hate. No, this is going. I'm going to leave with 100% text line center. H1 P. Okay. Now I'm only missing you else list items node and here. Okay, this it's my mess. This flex should have flex direction column. Yeah, nice. And also this one, flex direction column. And this not going not to be center, it's going to be start. Okay, I like this one. Let's see. I like this one. What I don't like. This one I like. And this one I don't like. first, let's say with 100%. Then flex direction its column. In the justify content, it's going to be center, but the align items, it's going to be flex start. And I'm just going to give another thing that is the padding of for the pixels. Padding left for the pixels. %. Yeah, that will be better. And we can copy this and put this on our file, and just be aware of checking that this is on info section and UL, and the list items will have a margin of 0, 0, 0, 0. This is clockwise, so this is top, right, bottom, and left. So yeah, this is how I want it to look. Then just write a message. It's going to be message section. Column justify. Yeah, it was messages. Nice. And the footer. Nice. And this one, position, absolute, bottom 0. Yeah, I was missing the yeah, with 100% padding. Yeah, this is how I want it to look. Nice. Maybe I'll add a padding to these sections too. Okay, I won't worry about that. What else is missing before, with the time we left? The write message. So let's do that very quickly with this logic. And we'll help with compile it. Document add a listener with the count loader. message form. Section read message action. Okay. ID. This will be ID message form. 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 Get element my ID. This input will have the ID message input. And finally, the message list. When some bit, blah blah blah, the list item value. Okay, nice. Let's see if that works. So for this, I'm going to check console. Message. Another message. Hey, look. This is the last message I showed. Nice, isn't it? And well, if I refresh, all these messages are going to be deleted because I just write them on the DOM, which is the document object model of our page. A lot of things to learn, right? So as I mentioned, this may be a small part of coding, of programming world, of the programming universe, but it is a huge, huge part of the development, web development planet. So we created this simple project. I shared with you a little bit of the resources for Visual Studio. I include Atom, but hey, this is that. This is no longer exist. For your hosting, you will have things like GitHub Pages, Netlify, Vercel. Check your GitHub Developer Student Pack. You will see a lot of more like these resources for learning. I recommend Free Code Camp. Yeah, I did mention this before. I mentioned the MD Web Docs, the W3 School, and of course the this one I was missing. Sorry, DevDocs. Yeah. The Mozilla Developer Web Docs, DevDocs, Free Code Camp, and Web3 Schools. So this part, we have a few minutes left. I will see if you have any question. Will image metadata be included if were to download your profile? Will image metadata be included if I were to download your profile image? That's a great question. Actually, I would say no, because that is for the web page that lives on, and helps, yeah, tracking. For example, for accessibility, the alt, it's kind of the metadata that helps screen readers to tell to aid the people who can see, and says like in out loud what the image it's supposed to be for. But when you download it, you just download the image, yeah, the bits for the image. So for this specific question, I will say no. Getting a page layout to appear reasonable, it's a serious weak point in my front-end designs. In what cases will Flex be most useful? To be honest, I kind of use Flex for most for mainly all things. There's some specific case which I see a very uh, tabular design, like if it was a table or some things like that. Um, when I use grid, and for styling with any other, like using any other different structure tool, it is hard for me to not use Flex. I mean, I use Flex in most of the cases, I would say. So don't worry, don't be afraid to use Flex. I must have missed this. Are you designing this page through the Firefox developer feature? Um, what do you mean for the through the Firefox developer feature? This string will be posted to the MLH YouTube, right? Yeah, it is. Actually, when I finish this stream, it will take not much time for it be available on YouTube. And it's the one I shared before. Can I have some bonus swag? Um, Stay tuned for the Discord. They post that a lot, like the swag drops and stuff. But I don't have the bonus swag. I'm sorry. Uh, so hey, it was all for the stream. I just want to thank you for joining me for this session. I hope you learned a lot, and I know it was very introductive for us. I mainly don't do these kind of sessions, but hey, I wanted to return to basics. If I explain something that you didn't know, it was my pleasure. If you think it was too introductory and you want more complicated stuff, don't worry, they will be in the future Global Hack Week beginners, in Global Hack Week editions. But if the opposite, if you thought this was very complicated and I kind of didn't explain enough well what these concepts were, don't worry. I'm around in Discord, so you can always ask for something that I mentioned but you didn't quite understand well. And well, that will be my pleasure to help you to understand this kind of stuff. I hope you learned something from this session, people. Yeah, thank you. So that will be all. Tomorrow, I will be giving introduction to backend, and the day after that, on Wednesday, I'll be giving introduction to MATLAB. So stay tuned for those sessions. Thanks. Bye bye.